COVID has deeply affected the millions of people incarcerated in the United States during the pandemic. COVID illness and risks were met with halts in visitation, recreation, and programming, lockdowns, quarantine, and isolation. The experience of living through the pandemic while incarcerated has largely gone untold. The following voices of incarcerated people offer a glimpse of what it was like to be incarcerated during the COVID pandemic.
Actually, it does disturb me because, then you sit there wondering why you were there for 23 and 1, and then you sit there like, I shouldn't be in here for 23 hours, and that's when the mental illness sets in, and you want to lash out.
The guards will just keep on walking by. They are not here for you, and they are not here to provide for you. That's not their job.
It was really hard adjusting, going from having recreation all the time to being locked down most of the time, and being able to shower whenever we wanted, to having assigned shower time. I had really bad anxiety to the point where I was throwing up, being locked in the room all the time. I had to get on medication.
So it was a choice. Do I call a loved one and say, hey, I'm okay? Or do I go and wash up, practice my hygiene, to remain healthy, because that's important. We know this.
The moment you saw the lieutenant walk in with that list, there was names being called. And when they called your name, you left the block. And the reason why that was bad is because if you were in your block, you kind of had things already set up. You got a good roommate. They were pulling you out to go to another block, which is the block that you were in if you had COVID. You dreaded that. You dreaded when that guy came in 2 days later to call your name out. And he called your name out, you didn't leave your cell, you left, and your roommate left with you.
Yeah, it's just been a lot more work than normal. With all the different precautions and everything we have to work through, it was already tough the way it was managing the inmate population and, keeping everybody safe without COVID. And then you add a whole nother factor in with trying not to spread a disease or a virus with 600-700 people that are all confined in small spaces.
The lieutenant comes out and tells me I'm positive. I have asthma, so I'm freaking out. Well, I'm in SEG for 22 days, a unit where you are locked in your room for 23 hours a day. I wasn't allowed to shower for 22 days. It was the scariest thing I have ever dealt with. Just them coming to the window. I have to get fed on a styrofoam tray because nobody can touch anything I'm touching.
The mental health, I think they should have someone come out at least once or twice a week to talk to us. A lot of people that committed suicide in this jail. You never know what goes through a person's mind when they're locked up behind doors or they can't get out and they're anxious to get out, and then they're fighting the COs and they're fighting everybody, and they wind up in a cell by themselves.
Medical care while I was in the isolation unit was pretty scarce, to be honest. I only talked to the nurse 3 times, I think, besides in the morning when they took our temperatures.
Yeah, that's how they treat us, and I guess they treat us like we 3/5 of a human, so.